Hello everyone, welcome. So we are almost all the way through November, and that means the end of the year is very fast approaching, and I still have not met my reading goal. My reading goal is to read 50 books this year, and I'm at 37 at this point, I believe, so I'm very close, but yet still very far away. I don't know that I'm actually going to hit it this year, and that's fine, but I would still like to get in a few more books because there are a few that I'm in the middle of, and there are others that I've really been wanting to read this whole year and continuously putting off. So today I wanted to go through my end of the year TBR with you and talk about all of the books that I still need to read before the year wraps up. I love fall and I also love winter, and one of my favorite things is just getting to curl up with a good book when the weather gets cold and rainy outside. And lately I have been doing so in the comfiest chair I have ever sat in, and I plan to do the remainder of my year-end reading while sitting in this comfy chair. And that brings us to the sponsor for today's video, Flexispot. I have been obsessed with my Flexispot Lotus recliner. This chair is so comfy, and you can sit in it in so many ways, which is such an important thing for me. It has so many different features. It swivels and you can rock back and forth, which is one of my favorite features, I think. The seat is super spacious and it reclines effortlessly, so you can easily put your legs up and take a nap or lie back if you're reading or watching TV. I love how flexible this chair allows me to be if I feel like laying back for a little while I'm reading, versus if I'm at a stressful point in the book, I will begin rocking back and forth as I am anxiously reading. There's plenty of padding on the armrests. They are super soft, and it also has a USB charging port, so you can easily charge your phone if you are reading on your phone or on an e-reader of sorts. And there's even a concealed storage space if you need to store a couple extra books or any other items you need. And it comes in several different color options, and I love this cream color because it goes with all of my home decor. So if you're interested in checking out the Flexispot Lotus recliner for yourself, be sure to click the link below and use my code LOTUS30 to get $30 off plus free shipping. Plus, don't miss out on the Flexispot Black Friday sale for up to 80% off. Once again, a huge thank you to Flexispot for sponsoring today's video, and without any further ado, let's get into my end of the year TBR. Alright, so starting off, I have a couple of library books that I have checked out right now. I went to the library the other day, sat in there, read a couple graphic novels, and then I was like, I miss reading graphic novels. I haven't read those for a while, so I'm gonna pick up a couple. The first one I have here is The Girl from the Other Side, Volume 4. I read Volume 1 a couple years ago now, I think. When I was in the library the other day, I read Volumes 2 and 3, and then I picked up Volume 4 to check it out and bring it home with me because I wanted to keep going, but they didn't have Volume 5, so we're stuck with Volume 4. Also, I have decided that I don't really know how I feel about this series, and if this one doesn't fully rope me in, then I'm probably going to DNF the series as a whole, but I decided to check this out anyway and pick this one up, so this will probably be one of the first next books I finish. Then the other graphic novel that I picked up from my local library is the Raven Boys graphic novel. I'm covering the barcode because I'm not trying to expose my location, but the Raven Boys graphic novel, I have not reread the Raven Boys since I first read them in, I think, 2016 or 2015. It's been so long, and I don't really remember a lot of what happens. I remember the characters for the most part, but I barely remember the plot. And I saw that this came out recently and the library had a copy, so I decided to check it out and hopefully I like it. If I do really like it, maybe it'll inspire me to reread the series again. But yes, I am excited to get around to this, so this will probably be another quick read that I'll use to maybe meet my reading goal. But again, I'm not that pressed about making sure I hit that goal. I'm not trying to read just for the sake of hitting a number, but I am genuinely interested in reading this. And I actually really liked the art style, so yeah, excited to get around to this. All right, next up we have the book I've probably been reading for the longest amount of time on this list, and I still haven't finished it. But to be fair, it is a book of essays, so I kind of just pick up an essay every once in a while and read it. But that is If They Can't Kill Us, They Can't Kill Us by Hanif Abdurraqib. I am a good chunk of the way through this. I'm apparently in the middle of an essay right now, or I read the first page. Well, that's fine. I'm 168 pages into it. There are 301 pages in the book. So I'm more than halfway through, and I've really been enjoying the essays I've been reading. As you can see, I've tabbed it quite a bit and marked it up a little bit, but I really like this book. I love the author's writing style, and I've really enjoyed some of the essays a lot, but I don't feel like it's the type of book I can sit down and just read from beginning to end. I just like to pick it up every once in a while. So I do want to finish this before the end of the year because I've been reading it for so long. So yeah, this is definitely a high priority one for me. If you haven't read this, I do highly recommend it. It is mostly at the beginning essays about music and different musical artists and how the author relates his experience with these musical artists and their work to his own life and other social issues, and they're really fantastic. And then later on, as it gets into other sections, the essays expand a little bit outside of that, but a lot of them are about music, which I really liked and I found so fascinating. I had no idea that that was what this book was about. But again, I have been really enjoying it, and there are a few more left, so I will hopefully get through those before the end of the year. The next book on my list is an audiobook that I've been listening to from the library, and I have like 7 days left before I have to return it, so I do have to finish listening to it this week. But that is The Everlasting by Alex E. Haro. This is, I think, relatively hyped on the internet, although I don't know that much because I spend almost no time on the internet book spaces anymore, so I don't actually know what books are that popular. Though I do think this one is because I've seen it a few times. I saw it at the bookstore and I really liked the cover. I've read a different book by this author before, so I thought I would give this a try, and then they had it at the library. So I picked it up, knew nothing about it, started it, found out it's a fantasy book with lots of yearning, time travel, and it's about a lady knight, and it's really good so far. This might be the book that finally breaks me out of my fantasy reading slump. I have read almost no fantasy this year, and the fantasy books I have tried to read, I have DNF'd. I've DNF'd like 3 or 4 fantasy books this year, which is huge for me because I love fantasy books and I don't DNF books. But this year I just have been, because they're not hitting. They're just not very good. I get like 30 to 35% of the way through the book, and then I just can't keep going. I don't find them interesting. I don't like the writing. I'm not invested in the characters. I don't really know what it is, but they are just not clicking for me. And so I put them down. I just don't want to continue reading them, which is disappointing. But this is the first one that I've started reading, and I got past the 30% mark, and now I'm about 50% of the way through, and I'm really invested. I really like it. I like the characters, love the writing style. I think the story itself is so interesting, and I'm really hooked. So I'm excited about this book. I feel like right now it's probably sitting around like 4 stars. I don't really think that it will be a 5-star read for me, but it has potential to be. There is potential there. So I'm really excited about it, and hopefully by the end of the year I can recommend this one as a favorite. But nonetheless, so far at least, I do recommend it. This is definitely going to be one of the next books I finish as well. It's been so nice to get back into fantasy. I'm really hoping that it sticks the landing. All right, next on my list is a book that I am also more than halfway through. This is a book I'm reading for my in-person book club with some friends, and that is House of the Spirits by Isabel Allende. This is my first Isabel Allende book. I have never read any of her other work, but this one has been highly recommended to me. So I was excited when my book club decided to read this one because I have been wanting to read it for a really long time. I'm on chapter 9, so I'm about to start chapter 9, and I'm really enjoying this so far. It is dark and twisted and weird and disturbing, and I love that type of storytelling. I love magical realism. She is like one of the queens of magical realism, so I'm very excited to continue on with it. I'm very, very interested to know how this book ends. It's just generations of this family experiencing different traumas and how that trauma has informed and influenced their relationships and their lives. I love any kind of generational trauma story, so I should be finishing this in about a week. So again, another one of the top priority ones. Next up is another book that I started earlier this year and then put down and just did not finish. Not because I wasn't liking it, just because I wasn't in the mood, but I definitely do want to pick this back up again and finish it in the next month. And that is The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. I'm about like 40 pages into this book. So I've made some progress, not a lot, but some progress, and I am liking it so far. This world is so fascinating, and it's such an interesting perspective on gender. I'm just deeply intrigued. I'm curious to know where the story goes, and I do really love Ursula K. Le Guin's writing. This will be the first novel I've read by her. I've only read her short story, The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas, and I love that short story. And I just feel like I need to go back to some older science fiction and fantasy that I've never gotten around to, so that I can read some of these classics to understand when they're referenced in more modern media and literature. I like doing that because I like knowing the source material. But she's also just an author I've always really wanted to get into and read some of her work. So yeah, this is definitely one I want to finish before December ends. And the very last book on my list is Braiding Sweetgrass. This I have on loan from the library as well, so I will be reading my library copy, hopefully before the end of the year. Earlier this year, I read Serviceberry by the same author, and I loved that book. That is one of my favorite books I've read this year. It's very short, and so I would like to read more of her work, and I feel like Braiding Sweetgrass will also end up becoming a favorite of mine. Her writing style is incredible, and I just love what she has to say and her perspective. So I'm really curious about this one, and I'm really hoping that I'll end up loving it as much as Serviceberry. But this year has also been like a big nonfiction year for me. Big, I say, from my perspective of someone who doesn't read that much nonfiction to begin with. 3 of my favorite books so far this year have been nonfiction books. And I don't know, I've just been really in a nonfiction headspace, I guess. So this is another one I would like to add to that list, and I am very excited to get around to it. But there you all have it. That is it for my list of books that I need to read before the end of the year. I know it's not like a very ambitious TBR, and I know that technically the number of books I have here will not make up for the number of books I still need to read before the end of the year, but that's fine. Like I said, I'm not necessarily desperate to hit that goal. I just do want to read a few more books before the end of the year approaches, because there's just so much more I want to read. There's always so much more I want to read. So yes, let me know in the comments down below what are the top 3 books. And if you don't have 3, 1 is also okay, but what are the top 3 books that you really need to read before the year wraps up? I might completely switch up on this. I don't know. I'm me. I'm such a mood reader. But I really do think I'm going to stick to most of these. But again, thank you all so much for watching this video. If you would like to follow me on my social media, all of my links are in the description box as always. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye!